This video is about pruning objectives. Anytime you look at a tree to review it for work, you have to keep the end goal in mind. What do you want to achieve once the pruning is done? That is the pruning objective. The objective is going to vary based on what the tree's function is in that landscape and what the client wants. It's not just going to be a single objective. You'll most likely have multiple ones at the same time. And your role as an arborist is to balance what the client wants while reducing the stress that the tree is going to be put under. And you mainly do that by reducing the size of the branches and the amount of material that will be removed. If you overdo it, the tree is going to grow back very quickly, maybe have worse structure, and over time, the client will need to prune the tree more and more often to fix those issues. Since this is my last video of the pruning chapter, I recommend you look at the other videos to understand some of the concepts that I'm going to glance over quickly. Here are some of the pruning objectives that you might encounter. If a client has a fruit tree, they might be interested in pruning it in a way that will get it to be more productive and to continue to produce fruit for a long period of time. They might also be interested in getting separation from the tree and some other feature, whether that's the house, the walkway, other plants. This is called clearance pruning, where you're clearing that tree from other things. When you're specifying details for clearance pruning, you might say something like 10 feet building clearance, 17 feet street clearance, and you might even specify whether it would be horizontal clearance or vertical clearance. The sooner clearance pruning starts, the better, because the growth that will grow in will be smaller and more leafy compared to woody branches. You might also be able to direct the growth away from a structure or something else by pruning the branches such that the new growth is going to automatically grow away from that thing. This specific practice is called directional pruning because you're guiding the future direction of growth. Directional pruning can also be used for something like power line clearance. It's very common to see trees that are sided or topped to get power line clearance, but sometimes you'll also see more of a V shape where the line is allowed to pass through the center of the canopy so that the future growth is directed away from it. That way, the material doesn't just grow right back into the power lines. Clearance pruning and directional pruning can also overlap with view pruning, which is when a client wants to have a particular view from their property and the tree's in the way. If the tree is young enough or short enough that doesn't quite conflict with the view yet, they could start reducing the canopy and keeping it small so that it never grows up into the view. That's different from topping, which would happen on a larger tree that already blocks the view. If a client wants a view in a mature tree, instead of topping the tree, what they could do is create view windows instead. So you select a particular area that is surrounded by larger branches and the foliage on the inside is removed, so there's a window that you can see the view through, but those remaining branches will continue to frame the view. If the client wants to maintain a tree at a particular size, this would be done through crown reduction or reduction pruning. The size of the canopy is kept smaller by regularly removing new growth at the outside edge of the canopy. Crown reduction should not be confused with topping because it's a thoughtful process with a specific goal in mind, and it focuses on managing the size of that canopy without triggering a lot of regrowth. Shearing or hedging can be used to maintain the size or shape of trees that are used as a screen, or for trees that are in a row with other plants that are used as a hedge. It's a slightly different process because the size of that plant group is fixed in the long term. It's almost always sheared or hedged back to that exact same shape and size. Usually the material that is removed is the new growth, so the green soft stuff that grows each year, not the bigger wood. If you accidentally cut into bigger branches, sometimes that can ruin the shape of the hedge or the screen by creating a dead hole. Another objective is structural pruning. where you're focused on training and reducing the defects of a young tree. You want to set it up for success with the best structure or framework that it could possibly have. You can apply the same approach to larger trees, although some people might not call that structural pruning per se, maybe more like managing defects. If you have a tree that's been really screwed up by bad pruning, you can apply similar principles, but this would be considered restoration pruning, because your goal in this situation is to bring the tree back to a form or a structure that's as close to what it had before. This is something that takes a lot of skill, and it takes multiple pruning cycles over many years to get there. What that might look like for a tree that's been topped is to thin out the new growth that forms around the pruning cuts, letting the remaining shoots get larger, thinning them again, and maybe shortening them so that they don't break off while they're getting larger. For a tree that's been lion's-tailed, restoration pruning might look like reducing the canopy to trigger interior growth, and then selectively thinning the new growth on the inside. Restoration pruning would take multiple cycles to do, but the original structure cannot be completely restored. Another objective might be to prune the canopy in a way that reduces the tree's issues with pests and diseases. This might look like thinning new growth so that there's more airflow through the tree, or removing parts of the tree that already have disease organisms in them so that there's not as much inoculum on the site. You might also want to just stimulate or rejuvenate growth on a tree that is struggling or is bare in particular areas that you want more foliage. Once you know the objectives, you can combine them into pruning specifications, which are like a written description of the pruning that should happen. At minimum, this should be in writing so that there isn't confusion between the client, you, and the crew if you're not the one who's personally doing the work. But it can also be very helpful to include photographs that you've marked up. If you're involved in tree care in any way, whether you're doing the work yourself or you're writing pruning specs, you should have a copy of, and you should read the ANSI A300 standards. ANSI stands for American National Standards Institute, and these standards cover all different parts of tree care. Your work should align with the standards because that's how you're going to be able to defend yourself if something goes wrong. But the standards are more like a list of what you shall or shall not do, more like requirements and not instructions. If you want something that has more information, you can also check out the BMPs, which is short for Best Management Practices. There are different BMPs for different aspects of tree care. BMPs are not a to-do list either, but they're more comprehensive and have more information for you. Between the two, you have to follow ANSI, but it would be good to also follow BMPs.